Now what I've started doing is putting the seeds and the strings and all in a bowl with some water and put some salt in there with it and just let it soak. Does two things. It seems to make it easier to separate the seeds from the strings, and it also lets the seeds absorb some salt. And that way, when we bake them later, they'll already have some of that salt flavor soaked into them, which just gives it a good taste. So, just go ahead and put a little salt in there. And we're going to put that in the sink. And I'm going to cut this fairly wide so that it'll be easier to get to, because we're going to use it as a bowl anyway. We're not making a jack-o'-lantern, we're making a bowl. So there we go. Let's use a big spoon to help us scrape the strings and the seeds out. This pumpkin was a gift from God. We had a hay bale out in our yard that I had just kind of stuck to the side, and was going to do something with it. I was going to spread it on the lawn or put it in the garden, but I just never got around to it, and it just sat out there and got rained on, and that caused it to start to turn brown and start to rot. And when I was growing my garden, all of a sudden, just spontaneously, it began to have a vine grow out of it. And at first I didn't even know what it was, until all of a sudden it got flowers, and then it began to grow pumpkins. We got 3 pumpkins off of that vine that God gave us. We didn't plant it. It just spontaneously came out of the hay bale. Apparently, whenever the farmer harvested that hay, there must have been a pumpkin seed in it somehow. Somehow I got a pumpkin seed in it, and that turned into our dinner, or turned into our blessing, our pumpkin. So the bowl here, I'm just gonna add some water to it, and we will set that aside and let it soak, and we will separate the seeds from the strings later on. But first we'll just let it sort of soak, and that kind of just makes it easier. And like I said, it lets the seeds absorb some of the salt. So we're separating the seeds, and it just makes it so much easier when it's in water like that. It just, the seeds just float up to the top, and you're able to just skim them off. I did all of those seeds in just a few minutes. And don't worry about being perfect. You're gonna have some seeds, some strings mixed in like that. That's okay. Do it in stages. So you do stage 1 is just a quick separation. Get as much of the seeds quickly out of there as you can. And you can always go back, and then you go to stage 2, which is let this soak for a little bit longer, and then go back in and kind of agitate it, and then you can try to clean it as much as possible. It's not going to hurt anything if there's a little bit of pumpkin left over in it. I mean, you eat pumpkin, so it's nothing bad about it. And once we cook it, it'll all be cooked, and it'll be pretty good to go. Now you'll see that there's still some seeds mixed in with the strings, and that's okay. We can just sort of, and I even just kind of like to pop them down like this back into the water, because they kind of just fall in there like that, and then that washes them, continues to wash them, and then you can just separate it. These are good little seeds to have, good snacks. Makes good snacks, good healthy snacks. I got a trash can over here. We'll just dump that in there. You miss a few seeds, it's not the end of the world. Just get the majority of them. Doing it in stages like this also gives you a chance to kind of inspect the seeds. If you find any immature seeds or any seeds that don't look good, you can just get rid of them. You don't have to do it all at once, do it in stages. And you're washing it the whole time you're doing it. They're also soaking in that good salt water, which is going to make them taste really good when you bake them. All done. So we'll just take this, get some hot water running. Put a little salt over the top of it. Let them soak again. Just stir it around, mix that salt in, and this will just kind of continue to help wash off any of those strings and anything like that. They're going to feel a little bit slimy, and people think that maybe that means they're not clean, but that's not it. They're just seeds. Once they bake and roast, they're going to be dry and they're going to be crispy. That sliminess is just the natural texture of a wet seed, and it's just the oil and all that's in there, and it actually helps the salt and whatever seasonings you put in there, it helps it to stick to it. So once you bake it, all of that's going to go away. It'll be dry and crispy and delicious. So we'll let that soak. We'll just clean up the rest of these dishes. All right, we're going to go through the last cleaning on these pumpkin seeds. Just kind of agitate them up a little bit here. And I'm just going to drop them in another bowl. And just try to separate out any seeds and strings. Get a trash can. You could skip this step really and just go straight to the colander, but just going to go a little extra careful and try to get it as much of that string out as I can. See, that's what's left. Throw that in the trash. Sometimes if you're so stuck on being perfect, you will not get anything done. And I'd rather do a good job than no job at all, because I'm too hung up on everything being absolutely perfect. Right, now one last thing, colander, and we'll just put the seeds down in there. And just use my sprayer, sort of clean them off. One last time. good enough. Pretty good. Pretty good. I'll wash out this bowl. Put them right back in there. Leave a few little strings caught in the colander. Now that's pretty good. Now, if you're really concerned about getting every last bit of strings out of there, you could just keep washing it. You could even boil this in some salt water and let it boil for about 5 or 10 minutes. And that will do two things. It will put more salt into it, but it will also agitate it around and sort of separate out the seeds from any last remaining pulp. But I'm not worried about that. It's fine. Now we're going to add just a teaspoon of butter. Stir that around good. That's going to give it some flavor, buttery flavor. Now, we're going to spread this out nice and evenly in our air fryer basket. Try to get it evenly spread out as much as possible. Even layer. I've never cooked these before in the air fryer, but we just got this air fryer and it seems to do a good job with so much. Now on this, I'm going to sprinkle salt. You can put anything on these that you really want to. And normally we do just salt for a savory, but this time we wanted to try some sweet. So we're going to add sugar. And just kind of sprinkle that on there. And we're going to do some ground cinnamon. You can play around with different spices and different flavors. Just kind of come up with whatever you want. Just plain salt and butter. Even just plain salt is good. It's almost kind of like popcorn. But we're going to do sweet today. Salt, sugar, and cinnamon. All right. Then we're going to put that in our handy dandy air fryer and cook it for about 10 or 15 minutes at 360 on the air fryer setting. The trick is not to overcook it. You want to cook it for 10 minutes, then check it, and then maybe cook it for 2 or 3 more minutes, then check it, then cook it for 2 or 3 more minutes and check it. You want it to get dry and crispy, but once it gets to that dry and crispy state, it's really easy to go a little too far and to scorch them. So if you do it in the air fryer, it's 10 minutes at 360 and then a couple of minutes more each time, probably about 15 minutes, maybe 20. 20 might be too much. Or you can cook it in your oven at same thing, 350 for 10 or 15 minutes. But we're going to do it in the air fryer because it just seems to, the things we've been cooking in the air fryer really get crispy. And that's what we want. We want it to be really crispy. When you bite it, it just sort of crunches. So we'll see what happens. So we've been cooking now for 10 minutes and I'm going to check them and see how they're doing. Smell great and pretty dry crispy. I think I'm gonna go just another minute or two. All right, I'm gonna check them again. Just right. I think I'm gonna add a little bit of salt to them. I like things to be a little saltier. All right. Take that out, set it over to the side, let them cool off. I don't know if you can hear that, but you can sort of hear them crunching or crackling a little bit. I guess that's them still cooking a little bit and drying out, and as they dry out, they kind of crackle a little bit. Delicious. Perfectly crispy, a little bit sweet, a little bit salty. Great, just right.